Well, hey, welcome everybody to the January 2024 meeting of the Google Educator Group of Ohio. How is it January of 2024? I don't know, but it is, and we are here. This is a pretty much monthly meeting where we take a look at everything new in Google for education from the last month, share some googly tips and tricks, and answer questions related to using Google tools in school. Howdy, everybody. My name is Eric Kurtz. I'm a ed tech specialist, a tech coach for the Stark County Educational Service Center and SPARC, the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium up here in Northeast Ohio. We serve about 35 school districts, and I'm joined as often by Denny. Denny, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hey everyone, I am Denny Hammond. I am the Ed Tech Data Coach here at Adena Local Schools, representing the southern part of the state of Ohio. So glad to be here.
Oh, that's fantastic. And we do have other folks that can't always join us, but Stephanie and Sarah and John, we try to kind of get all the corners of the state. We try our best to represent the whole state, but at least we've got the top and bottom kind of pinned down here today for sure. But thank you so much for being with us. A little bit of housekeeping before we dive into our meeting today. As always, we have a resource document that you can access. I will drop the link directly into the chat. For those that are watching live, if it's easier for you just to click on that, you can do that. If you don't have it open already, I'll drop that in right now. But for everybody else, like if you're watching this in the future and you want to be able to get to this resource document, probably the easiest way is just to go to the GEG Ohio website, because we have them all linked in there. So bit.ly/GEG Ohio, that will get you to the website. And then there's a monthly meetings link there. Give a click on that, scroll on down, and there's a spreadsheet with all of the links. So for example, here's today's January 31st. There's the agenda link there. And of course, you can check out previous months as well. So this resource document is an editable document. We encourage you, please add things to this document. There are certain spots for sure that makes sense. For example, there's an upcoming events section that we'll talk about shortly. If you know of a training or a conference or something coming up that we should be aware of, please add that in there. There's also a section further down called show and tell, where we do include a community show and tell portion there. And you can, as you see, somebody has already done so, you can add in resources there that you want to share with the group. Please do that. We want to learn from you. And there's also a Q&A section. You can add questions, you can add answers to that as well. So please do contribute to this document and reference it as we work through our meeting here today. And as far as we've done our intros. We would encourage you to do your intros as well. So I see in the chat, several people are already saying hi. Please do that. We would love to know where you're from. Certainly, we're going to have a number of people from Ohio, but you don't have to be from Ohio to take part in GEG Ohio. Folks from all over the country, all over the world actually join us, and that is totally fine. As long as you have an interest in using Google tools in school, we are happy that you are here. So please feel free to say hi in the chat, introduce yourself. I'm seeing several Ohios, but I see looks like we got some folks starting to say hello from Oklahoma. Okay, excellent. There we go. We got a Illinois. We're getting some other ones in there as well as a bunch of Ohios getting mixed in there. So wherever you're from, thanks so much for joining us here today. All right, well, let's go ahead and cover a couple of the basic introductory things here. We've already said our welcome and intros, but we do want to point out the important links. We try to do this at the start of each meeting, one of the big ones being the sign-in form. This allows me to send you a certificate of attendance for taking part in our meetings. So if you scroll on down to the section called important links, highlighted in green, you will see a link that will go to a Google form. You can fill that in and, of course, pick today's date there. And then when you submit that, It will allow me then to later run Autocrat and generate a certificate of attendance. Chances are I probably won't send that right away. Usually I send it closer to the next meeting. It's a nice way to get you the certificate and also to remind you about the next meeting that is upcoming. So when you get a moment, please take some time to fill that out. Next up, a quick update on our Google group that we have set up for GEG Ohio. So in between these meetings, this is a great way to stay in touch with each other. If you haven't joined the group yet, would encourage you to do so. I believe we just crossed 1,500 members. And so what a great way to connect with over 1,500 like-minded educators. If you've got a question, if you've got a comment, if you've got something to share, it's a great group to turn to. A lot of great conversations in that group. We also have a Facebook group as well if you prefer that. So would encourage you to join those. And then up next, how about some upcoming events, things to plug into in the coming months? Now, some of these are a little more Ohio-centric, which certainly makes sense, but there's a lot here that would apply to anyone. Now, Denny, I don't know if there's some here that you've got some inside scoop on, so I'll mention a couple of things here that I'm familiar with, but there may be some here that you can add to or speak to. For example, I'm excited about the OET's conference coming up, like 2 weeks from now in Columbus. I do have a link to the sessions that I'll be doing for that. Excited about Neotech, which is also in my neck of the woods. NeoNet is one of the other ITCs up here. That's March 12th, and that is free. Let's see, McCall. I will be at McCall as well. That's in Michigan, coming up soon. The Brainstorm Conference, I can't speak too much to that one. I'm not participating in that one this year, but if other people have some input on that, that's great. I know it's more of a IT conference than a ed tech like curricular conference. It focuses more on the IT end of the educational technology. I will give a quick shout out though to the Combo Heis Spark Conference. So, and as you know, I work for Spark, the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, but we're in the same building as the Stark County Educational Service Center, which I technically, work for as well. Well, for years, we've both done our own conferences. We've had the Spark Conference, and the Stark County ESC has had the Heis Conference, the High Impact Conference for Educators. And we've decided, hey, why don't we put them together? Why don't we join our forces? And so this year, there will be one conference, which is the Heis Combo with Spark Conference, June 11th and 12th. The call for proposals is open for that. There's a link for that, and the conference website has a lot more details on the conference itself. So hopefully that's something folks can participate in with that. And I did see that the iTip Google Summit, a lot of questions have been circulating lately, like, hey, where's the call for sessions, because usually, this conference is in May and we're expecting to have that open up. Looks like the conference now has been rescheduled to the end of October. So there you go. The iTip Google Summit, fantastic conference each year. Going to be up in Kalahari again this year, but a little bit later in the year than normal. So, Denny, anything to add to these upcoming events?
Yeah, the only thing I guess I would add is I'm presenting at OETC as well. I don't have like a special sheet that shows which sessions I'm leading, but I'm doing Canva Your Classroom,
Okay.
the top generative AI tools for educators, and then the AI evolution of education, just talking about, the use prompting and then addressing academic integrity, kind of introduction to AI. So, and I'm excited to see OETC this year, just with the advancement of generative AI over the past year. And I'm really excited to see what Sequoia Con brings.
I'll mention that. I will. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that one as well. So, but that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to OETC and the sessions that you will be presenting, and everybody who is listening, anybody who will be attending. I hope to get to say hi to you while we're there. I'm doing a couple of AI sessions as well as some mixed in with some other things while I'm there. Sequoia Con, yeah, this is a a virtual conference that is February 29th and March 1st. I am doing a presentation for that one as well. Mine is the closing session on March 1st. But if you are interested in that, you can follow the link there to learn more about SequoiaCon. It's, again, an all virtual conference, and they're pulling in awesome speakers from all over the place. It is not a free conference, so that's important to note. It does come with a cost, as many conferences do, but it is not a free conference. But all the details are here, explaining the people who are going to be speaking, and lots of other awesome featured speakers from all over the place that they're pulling in for this, which is great. If that is something you are interested in, I do have in my post here a discount code. If you want to shave a little bit off the cost of that, you can go into my post there, and I do have a little blurb there about a discount code you can use to save a little bit on the registration for that. I do believe the early bird registration ends relatively soon, so if that's something you're interested in, probably good to jump on that before the prices do go up on that. All right. I see Ryan said that the website needs to explain that it's an online conference. I agree with you, Ryan. It's a little confusing when you first get there. I tried to be really clear about that in my blog post, that it is an online conference, because you're right. I think the actual site itself was not as clear on that.
And the proposal window has closed.
Okay.
Found that out yesterday.
All right. Well, anything else, Denny, before we wrap up all these introductory things and kind of get into the meat of our meeting here today? Anything else?
I think that's it. I guess the only thing I would add is I get to present a session at SequoiaCon as well. So just on generative AI.
Oh, wonderful.
Similar to OETC.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad you'll be doing that. That is great. Well, again, if you've got anything else to add to these, please do so. You can add other conferences, upcoming events, virtual things, in-person things. And if you're going to be at any of these, please say hi. Like I said, I know I'll be at OETC, SequoiaCon, Neotech, McCall, Heist, Spark, of course. So those are some that I'm looking forward to connecting with folks. Well, let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off our little banner here, and I'm going to hide Denny and I. So we're going to say goodbye to you here and hide off the side of the screen while we go ahead and focus on the main portion of our meeting from here on out. And that is what is new in Google. So every time we have one of these meetings, we try to go through the highlights of what has come out in the last month. Now, it's been 2 months since our last meeting, so I have to be a little more selective this time because we got 2 months of content to review through. So as you look here, you'll see we've got some the tail end of November after our last meeting. We've got the month of December and January. I have highlighted, I bolded the dates for some of these that I felt were some of the more important ones, just to try to narrow it down a bit, or we would be spending all day here trying to get through all of these updates. If there's something, though, that we don't cover and you're like, oh, I really did want to talk about that, let us know. Put it in the chat, and we can absolutely circle back around to any of these and go in a little bit deeper on them. And of course, all the resource links are here, so just give a click on those to learn more about the ones that we might be skipping as well. All right, good stuff. Well, let's go ahead and get on into what is new in Google Workspace for Education. So the first thing that I'm going to pull up here, it's a really small one, but hey, I was a math teacher, so anything math related, I always, want to give a shout out to. The ability to solve math equations easily with Smart Compose. Okay, so what is this about? Well, you're probably familiar with Smart Compose. Smart Compose is when you're typing in a Google document and then it suggests what to type. So it gives you the next few words in your sentence. Well, we've had Smart Compose for, ever and ever and ever. They're now adding a feature to Smart Compose, or have added it, that if you type in a mathematical expression and then press the equals key, Smart Compose will try to suggest what the answer should be. So let's try that out. Let me go ahead and just fire up a Google document here. And here, I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see this as we're going. But if I were to do something like, we'll keep this simple. We'll say like 1 plus 2 uh, times, 5 equals. Now notice, I haven't typed that 11. I did not type that. That's in gray. That is the smart compose. It is suggesting that that's the answer. Now, I intentionally typed in this particular one because I was curious if it would follow order of operations, which it did, which is good. I was curious because if it did 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 times 5 is 15, that would not be order of operations. We do multiplication first. And so it did that correctly. 11 is the correct answer there. I can just press the tab key to accept that. So, hey, heads up, if you are working in a document now and you're typing up a math equation, you press the equal sign, the Smart Compose will give you a suggestion for what should be the correct answer. Now, again, of course, I guess this is just maybe one more headache on the other end of the spectrum for math teachers who don't want their students just to get answers when they're typing in a Google Doc. So yeah, anytime there's an advancement, on one hand, that's nice, can save you a little bit of time. On the other hand, yeah, I see where that could be a challenge as well if a student was doing math inside of their document and now it is suggesting answers for them. So one more thing for us to be aware of when we are working in a Google document. All right, good stuff. Let's keep on going here. Let's see what we got here next. So keep on heading down. The next, I'll put these two together here. Introducing Gemini, Google's largest and most capable AI model, and the fact that Bard is getting upgraded with Gemini. So you can check out both of these blog posts if you would like. They both touch on the topic of Gemini. So here's basically what it comes down to. So the gist is this. Um, uh, Google, of course, being one of the leaders in AI, they have been, working on large language models for years and years and years, much like ChatGPT from OpenAI or Claude from Anthropic. Well, Google has been doing the same thing. And although Bard is what we call the front-facing chat tool, the actual large language model that is powering it has changed over time. It started off with Lambda being the name of the model. That's what we were using like back in last February when Bard first rolled out. They then upgraded that to a model called Palm 2. And then now they've just recently upgraded it to a model called Gemini. This is their most powerful, most recent model. Now, a couple of things about Gemini just to mention to differentiate it from past tools. Do note that Gemini is coming in multiple flavors. There's a Gemini Ultra, Pro, and Nano. Pro is what is getting baked into Bard at the moment. And so there is a more powerful version called Gemini Ultra. And it does look like that is coming soon as well. But we'll get to this in another one of the blog post updates here. It looks like that is going to be part of a paid version of Bard, whereas Gemini Pro will be in the free version. Now, the question though is it better? Is it an improvement? Well, let's pull up Bard. And my short answer is yes, absolutely. Without a doubt, this is a really nice step forward. I've been using Bard. I use ChatGPT, I use Bard, I use Copilot, I use Claude, I use all of these large language models. And yes, this is a big step forward for Google Bard compared to, where it had been in the past. So I would say just gut feeling here as I played around with it. If you use the free version of ChatGPT, so 3.5, I would feel that this is at least as good as that. And I think it'd be fair to say it is better than is more powerful than the free 3.5 version of ChatGPT. I've seen a lot of blog posts that have done different tests to evaluate their functionality, and that seems to be echoed in many of them. That this falls between the paid version, which is ChatGPT 4.0, and the free version, ChatGPT 3.5. Now, apparently the ultra version is going to be, very similar or perhaps better than 4.0 with ChatGPT. But just to show and a quick example here, a lot of times when I am testing out AI tools, one of the things I like to do is give it a little bit more of a beefy type of a prompt. And so OpenAI has a nice page on teaching with AI where they pulled together some sample prompts that are provided by Ethan Mollick. Ethan is a professor, definitely a leading voice in AI in education. And he's got some really nice prompts. But again, they're beefy. You can see they're big. They're not just these little prompts. Like here's one on creating a lesson plan. And so a lot of times I'll use these as like a little bit of a litmus test to see how well a large language model handles multiple steps and things like that. Now, of course, today, who knows, maybe Bard won't play nicely with me, but we're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here and see how it's doing here. And oh, well, no, of course, now this time it is now going to not do what I had hoped. Because again, I did just try this before we were here, and it seems like, yeah, okay, no, good. Hey, the second draft did better. See, and that's a good thing to know. The first draft didn't do a good job of following my directions, but draft 2 and 3 both did. Feeling a little bit better now seeing that. So draft 2 realized that I've asked it to pause in between these requests to get information from me. So it's saying, okay, what is the topic you'd like to teach and what is the grade level that you want to teach? And so I might come in here and say, yeah, I'm going to be doing, here, I'll just copy and paste this. I'll say that I'm teaching 7th grade math and that this is my particular topic that I'm going to be covering. Now, hopefully it'll again process that, oh, this is good. Okay, I'm happy to see this. It is doing a nice job. It is saying, oh, that's great. So it's saying, what do your students know about this? Do they have any prior knowledge? What have you already covered? So it is doing a much better job than it used to in the past. In the past, when I would give it one of these multi-step prompts that, again, Ethan is very, very well known for generating these multi-step type of prompts. Yes, it is doing a really good job of pausing in between and asking me questions. Now it's saying, what's my learning goal for the lesson? So I'll say, okay, yeah, this is my learning goal. I'll put that in. And I think that should be it. At this point, I believe those are the 3 things that we asked. And yep, there we go. Perfect. It paused after all 3 of them to ask us for feedback. And now it is generating the lesson after doing all that. I never could do that in Bard before. Anytime I would give it that sort of a prompt, it would do what that first draft looked like. It would just blow through the whole thing and not wait for me to respond. So yeah, very happy, very happy to see that. So good news. We are getting, we do now have available Gemini Pro in Bard, a far more capable model. I've been very pleased with the progress they've made on that. So good stuff there. Before I move on from that, Denny, I'm curious, have you had a chance to try out? Have you been doing some comparisons, jumping back and forth? Have you noticed anything with the improvements to Bard?
To be honest, I haven't had a chance to explore it a whole lot.
No worries at all. Just was curious. And I'll ask this to everybody who's watching now, everybody in the chat. I'd love to hear, what has your take been? Because without a doubt, when Bard came out last February, it was rocky. It really was. And there was no competition. It was like, okay, I'm going to use Chat GPT, or Copilot or something. And then when they upgraded it to Palm 2, way better. And now that it's up to Gemini, I have really been pleased with the results I'm getting. Now, I still use them both. I mean, I use all of the tools, but I pay for Chat GPT 4.0, so I can bump between that and the free version. And of course, now I use Bard. A lot of times I'll put the prompt into both of them just to see, what I get. And it's really has come a long way. Good stuff. All right. Excellent. Dan is saying that he's still going to Chat GPT first. He's very happy with those responses. And again, with the paid version, Dan, I would agree with you. I feel I get, I get more power from the 4.0 version of ChatGPT, but absolutely happy with what Bard has accomplished now. And if you're using the free version, I mean, hey, it's free. Bard is completely free, so you can really take advantage of that now. All right, good stuff. Good. All right. And Ryan also said he's using ChatGPT probably because he's paying for it. Me too. I know what you mean. All right. Well, let's clean up a couple of tabs here because you know how this is. I'll always wind up with so many tabs open as we go here. Now, that won't be the last time we talk about AI. It's going to pop back up, trust me, as we work our way down this list. That's just the first occurrence of AI here. Oh, I did see a question. Gabby said, is Bard in Gemini working in Spanish? I have not tried a different language yet. So sorry, Gabby, I have not particularly tested that. I have not specifically tested that. If anybody has had a chance to, please feel free to. I'd be happy to do so when I get a moment to poke a stick at that. But I have only been conversing in English with it so far. All right. Well, let's keep on moving. The next update is a change to Google Forms. Now, when you first read this blog post, it sounds like, oh, there's a new beta. And you may say, well, you know, I usually don't join the beta things to try stuff out. That's totally fine. If you don't want to sign up for the beta, no worries. It's just good to be aware of what's coming soon with Google Forms. A pretty interesting change that they're going to be making here. And so here's what the change is going to be. I'll pull up their animated GIF here so we can watch a little bit better. In the past, when you created a Google form and you wanted to, you know, give the link out for people to fill out the form, you know, it was not very granular as to, you know, who was able to fill out the form. You pretty much had, you know, two options. It's like, okay, either everybody in the world can fill out this form or only people from my domain. So like, you know, just my students, you know, people in my school. And that was pretty much it. It was a pretty, you know, blunt options there. There wasn't a lot to it. Well, the change that you're seeing here in this animated GIF is they're moving Google Forms sharing much closer to what we see in docs and slides and sheets and things like that. What we're going to be able to do in the future, or if you're in the beta, you can do this in the beta, but this is assumed this is what's going to be coming eventually to everybody unless the beta proves otherwise. There'll be the ability to go in and say, okay, I want to publish my form. That's going to kind of be the new terminology for giving somebody the live link to fill it out. And when you go to publish it, notice the ability to manage the responders. And here you can actually put in specific people or groups in there, just like you would do with a document. So we could say this form can only be filled out by these 10 people, or this form can only be filled out by, you know, my high school teachers, or whatever the case might be. So a much more granular control over who's able to fill out the form to be able to complete it. So just be aware. I don't know how long it's going to take for it to go through the beta process and become a standard new feature, but don't get caught off guard when that does happen. It looks like this will be the new option to publish a form so that people can fill it out. All right, good deal. Oh, and Denny, you had some feedback about Gabby's question on.
Yeah, I thought, you know what? Why don't we just ask Bard?
That's great.
Can you respond to Spanish? So, do you work with Spanish and other languages? Was my question, and it said yes, Spanish and 70 other languages. So, actually, it responded in Spanish.
And it responded in Spanish. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope it would. So,
Yeah.
Spanish and 70 plus other languages.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Denny. I appreciate. I mean, that was my gut reaction, but I didn't want to just say yes because I honestly haven't tried it with the new updates that have been there. But yeah, to a large language model, languages they don't really see the same language barrier we do. You know, Chat GPT and Copilot and Bard, they see English and Spanish and French, and they see languages as just language, you know, and they can very easily jump between one language and another. But thanks for verifying that for us. That's
Sure
great.
thing.
All right. Next up, NotebookLM has gotten some new features here. If you're not familiar with NotebookLM, I know we've shared it before. I'll drag it over. I've got it on a different tab here. I'll drag it over, and we can play around with it. This is my personal account, and I do have access to NotebookLM on that. So I went ahead and I'll pull this over, and we can explore that here in a second. That's what NotebookLM looks like. Before we dive into it, though, what's new? So there's a blog post that explains what's new. There's also this other resource link that is more of just a bullet point list of what's new in it. So if you want to see all of the new things you can do in NotebookLM, this will go down the list and tell you all of those. I will not go through all of these. You can definitely read through those, but I'll pull the notebook back over here in a second and at least show you what it looks like. The big things, the big stuff is the fact that they've increased how big the notebooks can be. They can now hold up to 20 sources, and how much content each source can have, up to 200,000 words. Oh my gosh, that is a lot. So what is that? 4 million words total that you could have in a notebook. And then they've added other neat features in there. So if you're not familiar with NotebookLM, basically here's the idea. You come here to notebooklm.google.com and you can create a new notebook. I've got several here. Or you can look at example notebooks to see how this could work. So the one that I usually show off is this one on sargassum. Sargassum is that seaweed that comes from the Atlantic Ocean and collects, and it hits the shore, the coast of Florida a lot of times, causing all kinds of problems. Well, I went ahead and I added like 4 articles about sargassum into this notebook. So the idea is you create a notebook and you add items to it. Now, one of the updates is what you're allowed to add. You can now not just add things from your drive. That's how I got these in there. But you can upload PDFs now, and you can also just paste text right into it. Just say, here you go, boof, paste the text right in. The point is, you are going to feed it up to 20 documents, each of which can have 200,000 words in it. And then you chat about it. You can basically just start talking to the AI about your documents. So what a neat way to be able to take, a wide range of PDFs, articles, notes, curriculum, content, whatever it is, put it all together and say, hey, let's chat about it. You can then start asking questions about that content, and Google's AI will chat with you about that. You can then save notes based upon those conversations that you get. And another new feature is you can select the notes you've created, and then you can do additional AI on top of the notes you've made, like creating a study guide from them or an outline or combining them together. And so basically the idea is you give it the documents, you chat with it, you save notes from those chats, and then you take those notes and you build more from that. So a really great way to be able to distill information that you have pulled together in one place. When Google has shared this in the past, a lot of times they've been pushing it more of like a study aid for a student to have all of their study documents in and then quiz themselves on things or ask for clarification. But I can clearly see this being valuable for a teacher as well, for creating educational content and pulling it all into one place. All right, so a couple of updates there to NotebookLM. Wanted to make sure those were on your radar there. Good stuff. All right. Next up, pretty small update, but it's cool. Easily filling in smart chips in Google Docs using a new thing called placeholder chips. Probably the easiest way to show you this is just to show it to you. You can go to the resource link if you want, but let's say I pop over to this document we were doing our math in earlier. If I go up to my insert menu and I go down to my smart chips, this is where in the past I could add like a date or somebody's name or a link to a file or a calendar event or a map, a location. Well, now there's a placeholder chip option where you can put in a temporary placeholder that somebody else can fill in a date or a person or a file or a calendar event or a place. So if I say insert smart chips placeholders and I choose date, it basically leaves this date spot here. And so the point is, later on, when somebody comes into this document, they can click on that and say, oh, well, it's the 31st of January or whatever, and they can select the date, hit OK, and it will fill it in. So basically, it's just going to hold the spot until somebody needs to fill that in. If you go to the blog post, you can see some examples they show there of, date, place, calendar event, things like that. So they're adding a date, and then for place, they're going to, search for a place, and it'll add in a Google Maps link for that location. So the idea being, maybe you're making a template and you can let these hold the place until somebody is ready to fill those in. So nice feature to have that available to us now. All right, good stuff.
Eric, do you know if the NotebookLM is only for like early access or for a certain level of, school?
Good question. So I have used NotebookLM on my personal Google account. So that, that's not a school account. That's my personal Google account. Good question. And I apologize. I don't have the answer right off the top of my head. So let's poke a stick at it real quick here. This is my work account here. If I try to go to NotebookLM on my work account, let's see. Yep, comes up okay. So my guess is it has been put together with what we are calling early access apps that Beth had asked about, because I do have that turned on, which lets us access Bard. If you can access Bard, which is an early access tool, my guess is, and I apologize, I don't have a definitive answer here. So if somebody wants to dig a little deeper, let us know. But because I, in my admin console, switched on early access apps to use Bard on my school account, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's blocking me from using NotebookLM on my school account as well.
Yeah. I have access as well. So
thanks for asking that question, though. I appreciate that. Now, I will say it definitely was a beta tool prior to, I don't know, a month or so ago. You did have to actually go in and, sign up for it and blah, 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 blah. And it did come out of that so that, anybody is allowed to use it now. All right. Good stuff. All right. Gabby said it's only available in the US at the moment, though. Thank you for that clarification. And again, I really appreciate that. Sometimes I know we just come from the perspective we have, and I apologize for not thinking more globally there. I wasn't aware of what limitations it might have, but good to know. NotebookLM sounds like it's only for the US at the moment. Good to know. All right. All right, few more updates. Let's keep on going. We're doing good. And again, if I skip something that you're interested in, please let us know. We'd be happy to chat about them. I'm just trying to pick out some of the highlights. So next up, a nice little update to Google Classroom, the ability to excuse assignments. So I think this one's been asked for a long time. So now in Google Classroom, if there's a student who was absent, or for whatever reason, whatever the reason is, we're not going to hold them accountable for completing an assignment. There is the option now to excuse them instead. So I'll just pull up my classroom real quick. I'll just show you an example of what I mean. And these aren't real classes here. These are all training classes and stuff like that. So like if I go into this science class, these aren't real students. They're just demo test students there. But if I were to come in here and grab, a demo assignment and go to those that are assigned, you'll see they're all missing because, again, this is just a pretend class just to demonstrate with. But I could come next to test user number 1, click on the 3 dots next to their missing and say, you know what? I'm going to excuse them. They don't have to, complete that assignment. And that will allow us to no longer have that show up as a missing assignment for that particular student. So nice little classroom update. Couple more classroom updates coming soon, though. So hang on. They're a little bit further down in the list, but that's a nice quick one from mid-December. Well, speaking of classroom, okay, here's another one right after that. We won't spend much time on this because I know we've talked about it before, but interactive questions for YouTube videos in Google Classroom has come out of beta. It is now available. So I know we've done it before. This is not like a new thing. We've had this discussion in our GEG meetings. But if you don't know, if you're like, well, Eric, I don't know what that is. I won't go into great depth. I'll just show you super quick the idea. The idea is that if you're in your classwork tab and you go to create an assignment, you can say, I want to add a YouTube assignment to this. And when you go to add a YouTube assignment, basically what it's going to do is ask you to put in a link or to search for something. Let's say I'm teaching the students about food webs, and maybe I grab this Crash Course Kids video on food webs. Well, instead of just adding this video to the assignment saying, hey, watch this video, we can click add questions. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to give us a spot where we can add questions, multiple choice questions, checkbox questions, or open-ended questions anywhere along the video that we want here. So if I add one of these in, it's just putting it in the middle, but I could change the time. I could, adjust when that shows up, or I could play it and then pause it and then add a question. The point being, we can add those, put those questions in there. And if it's multiple choice or check boxes, we can say, here's the answer options and which one is correct. And basically, it's similar to something like Edpuzzle, where when a student now watches the video, they have questions to answer as the video's playing. So it encourages more engagement. So they're not just letting the video play through, but periodically, boop, a question's popping up. They're answering the question. They're engaging with that. And it's then collecting that information for you, so you will know if a student was struggling on the content from that. So again, don't want to go too deep into that just because I know we've done this before. We have explained this in earlier ones, but it is now no longer a beta feature. It is available. As always, though, do note that some of these, we put little icons, little emojis next to them to let you know what tier of the Google Suite these are for. This is for Plus and Teaching and Learning. So do note that. I do have these little icons next to these, whether it's Fundamentals, the free version, Standard, Teaching and Learning, or Plus, or Duet AI, which we'll talk about a little bit more here as well. So that is a Teaching and Learning or Plus feature there to add those interactive YouTube questions in there. All right. Next up, Google did, as a wrap up for 2023, announce their favorite Chrome extensions from last year. I won't spend much time on this other than to say it's always worth a look. I would encourage you to scroll down through that blog post and see, are there some extensions here that you were not aware of that maybe you want to take for a spin and try out? And if Google has claimed these to be some of their favorite extensions of the year, chances are they probably are pretty good. I did recognize quite a few of these, like the Deep L translation extension. I've definitely recommended that one before. That's a great extension. It's a very accurate extension. And it's one of the very few translation extensions that will also translate things you type, not just text that's already on a web page. A lot of them, it's like you select the text and then it translates it. This, if you're typing into a box, it can translate it for you as well, which I think is nice. And there's other ones here as well that I'm familiar with. Some I wasn't, and so it gave me a chance to at least poke a stick at them and learn a little bit more about some of these extensions and see which ones I might eventually add to my list of favorite extensions that I share out as well. And then to finish up December, the last thing before we had our winter break here was a update to Duet AI. Now, we're going to talk about Duet AI quite a bit here with the January updates, but Duet AI is the new tool, the new suite of tools that Google is providing for WORKSPACE customers, including education, at a cost. We will talk about that. The Duet AI is not free, but they are continuing to expand it. They added the ability to remove image backgrounds when in slides or drawings. So I'll just demonstrate this real quick. You may have seen my blog post, or I don't know, it wasn't a blog post. I think it was a like a tweet or a social media post. But if I were to say, hey, I've got this slide, and I want to put a picture of myself, here, I will go ahead and let me grab a picture of myself here, and I'll just bring that over. So here's a picture of me. And if I said, you know what, I want to have this picture of me at the beach, but have it look like I'm there, I want to cut out the background. That's a pretty common ability for a lot of tools now. I mean, Canva can do that. There's other standalone tools, that you can go to a website and use to strip out the background there. Well, now, if you have Duet AI, you get this extra button, this remove background button in Google Slides. So if I click on the image and I click on the remove background, give it a moment, boop, 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 it should cut that background out. Usually does a pretty good job. Looks like it did pretty well there. Excellent. And so I could, resize myself, whatever, maybe, put myself in the corner here, standing under the tree there as I'm enjoying the beach that I'm on. So nice feature, but yes, just heads up, that is part of the Duet AI suite of AI tools, but wanted to give you a heads up that has been rolled out. All right, well, we're going to pause for just a second because we're going to head into January next. I told you, this is the trimmed down version. There was so much. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're going to head into January. Let me pause for a second. Denny, do you see questions, comments from the chat? Something I skipped? Would you just like to add some color commentary to some of these? Any of these tools or these updates I shared that you would like to speak about?
Yeah, the only question I had seen in the chat was with regards to NotebookLM. I'm assuming Jennifer may be asking when NotebookLM would be out of early access mode, so be available to the general public. I don't know if you know that or not.
Unfortunately, I don't. Yeah, even Bard says experiment up there, and NotebookLM, when we pulled that up just a moment ago, it also had experiment next to it. How long will it be that way before it's no longer an early access app? Unfortunately, I have nothing to add to that. I don't have an inside scoop. I don't know any special information on that. So not sure about that, but hopefully sooner than later. Having said that, Google is more cautious. Just for what it's worth, that's just who they are. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. Some of the other companies like OpenAI, they seem to move a little quicker. They seem to iterate a little faster. They seem to put stuff out and say, hey, try this, whereas Google does a lot of beta testing. They do a lot of testing with trusted testers. They do smaller groups. They do like commercial, like regular personal accounts before they do education accounts. So just be aware they do move slowly and cautiously. Which, hey, when it comes to AI, as much as I'm excited about the tools, I do appreciate that from an educational point of view, that they want to make sure that things are well tested before putting them in the hands of students eventually, for sure, but even teachers as well. All right.
There's another question there too from Jennifer with regards to the YouTube videos. So I know some schools have YouTube blocked.
Oh, no. Yeah. So if Jennifer was referring to the ability to add YouTube videos to Google Classroom and have the interactive questions, it's not like a different link. It still is the same YouTube video. So I believe any blockage you would have on YouTube videos, it's going to apply to Google Classroom as well. It's not something, it's not a workaround.
Right.
You're still going to need to manage your block list of which videos are allowed and which ones are not, even if you're using it inside of Google Classroom.
Okay.
All right. Well, All right, let's head into January. And again, please, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Jennifer, thank you so much, and Gabby and Beth and everybody that I'm seeing there in the chat. Dan, Ryan, Matt, all of you guys, thank you so much for your questions, your comments. We want to keep hearing from you as we go. Okay, so January rolled around and we got a whole bunch of updates. Let's pick out a couple of those. So, one of the first ones I alluded to earlier said we would come back around to, and that is it appears that Google Bard is going to be getting a paid tier in the near future. Now, heads up, this is from 9 to 5 Google. This is not an official Google release. This is a very good blog, though. I read them all the time. They're one of the many Google adjacent blogs that I read. They do a really good job of sharing information. And so I believe this does make a lot of sense what they're sharing here, because Google hinted about this. In the blog post earlier, when we talked about Gemini and how Gemini is now available, that this version here that I just demonstrated for you guys when we were looking at having it help us write a lesson plan, remember that was the middle level of Gemini. That's Gemini Pro. There's Gemini Nano, which is a basic version that could be like run on a phone. There's Gemini Pro, which is this one. And then they said Gemini Ultra is coming soon, and that's supposed to be the Chat GPT 4.0 killer, well, at least at the same level, maybe above of what Chat GPT, but definitely right up there with 4.0. Well, it sounds like that's not going to be free. It sounds like if you want to use the Ultra version, just like, hey, if I want to use the 4.0 version of Chat GPT, I do pay for that. I pay $20 a month for that. Well, if you want the Ultra version of Gemini powering Bard, it looks like that is going to be a paid thing as well. I do not have an inside scoop on this. I do not have any special, extra knowledge that I'm withholding from you. Just, what we've read here and what I have gleaned from Google's posts as well. Sounds like probably $20 a month. I would imagine probably similar to what you're seeing, because that's what Microsoft charges for Copilot. That's what Anthropic charges for Claude. That's what OpenAI charges for ChatGPT 4.0. So probably we're going to see something similar, probably like $20 a month to access the Gemini Ultra version of Bard. Plus, it sounds like it's going to get some other bells and whistles in there as well. It's not just going to be a more powerful model in the background, but it's also going to have some additional features. But that's all speculation at this point. Hang tight. I think we're going to find out much sooner on that. That seems like we should be getting more details on that soon. All right. So just wanted to give a quick heads up on that. But speaking of paying for AI, let's take a little time to talk about Duet AI. Now, this actually answers one of the questions in the Q&A section. Somebody said, hey, can you explain more about Duet AI? $360 a year seems a little steep. So I saw that question show up earlier in there. And so we are going to talk a little bit about Duet AI. I know I referenced it when I showed you how Duet AI can now remove image backgrounds, but let's actually talk more about what is this. So once again, 9 to 5 Google did a nice blog post here where they talked about some new features coming to Duet AI. So definitely check that out if you want. But I'm actually going to point you to my blog post that I added next to this. So I did a blog post just a little bit back here on Duet AI for schools. And this will take you out to the one I just did, what was about a week ago, a little over a week ago here. And I had the fortune to be able to interview one of the Google employees who is a product manager for Google Workspace for Education. He works directly with Duet AI for Education, and I got a chance to do a 25-minute interview with him. And we went into a nice deep dive on, okay, what is this Duet thing all about? I'll leave that to you to watch the interview if you would like to at some point. That is there. But let me just give you the gist of the things we talked about and what this is all about. So here's the main points here on Duet AI. Basically, This is a suite of AI tools that integrates inside of Docs, Slide Sheets, Gmail, Meet, and so forth. So the idea is where Bard, I would have to leave Google Docs. Like if I'm in Google Docs and I go, oh, I want to do something AI related, I go over to Bard, I have it do the AI thing, and then maybe I say, oh, I'm going to export this back over to Docs, or I'm going to copy it and paste it back into Docs. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Well, the idea is with Duet AI, you don't leave the tools. You're doing this inside of Docs and Slides and Sheets. Well, just a few minutes ago when I showed you the one with the beach where I said, hey, here's my picture. I added my picture and I stripped out the background. I didn't leave to do that. I just clicked on the button here to remove the background because that's a Duet AI feature. It let me just go ahead and cut out the background. I didn't have to go to a third-party tool and then come back in later. So that's the main focus here is these are AI tools baked inside of the main tools. This is for Google Workspace users, including education. It is not for personal consumer accounts. You may say, well, Eric, you just showed you doing this in Google Slides. No, that's because I'm a trusted tester and I get to try some of these things out early. So yes, this is my personal account. That's why I'm testing it on that one. But no, in the end, no, these are not for personal accounts. This is for Workspace users. It requires a separate license. So no matter what tier you're on, doesn't matter. Say, hey, well, we pay for Education Plus. We've got teaching and learning. We've got, no, doesn't matter. It's a completely separate license that goes on top of whatever you're currently paying. Currently 18 and above only. Who knows? Perhaps students at some point, but not now. And here's some examples of it. Like, so for example, in Google Drive, if you pull up a document in Google Drive, you can ask it to summarize documents. You can ask it to pull together information from multiple files for you. You can ask it to retrieve quick facts about a project without needing to go and open up all those documents. So it can search through your Drive for you and generate content. If you're inside of Google Docs, you can say, hey, help me write. It can help you, write. It can help you rewrite. It can proofread. It can create images. So it can work right inside of Docs for you. It can also pop up on the side over here so you can have a discussion about your document. In Slides, we just saw that it can remove image backgrounds, but it can also generate images. It can make soundtracks. It can create slides. It can summarize. It can pull information from your Drive and from your Gmail to create your slides for you. So it can build slides for you. In Sheets, it can summarize data. It can create tables. It can make formulas. It can make charts. It can, again, pull from your Google Drive and then make a Google Sheet from data it pulled out of a Google Drive file, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In Gmail, you get it. You're probably picking up the flow here. You can, create a draft, refine a draft. I like this summarizing an email thread. That's really nice. Basically say, listen, okay, I've missed out. I was gone at FETC and I missed out this whole thread. I could say, hey, could you give me the gist? What was this thread about? And it will read through the whole thread for you and give you the short overview of what that was about. Helping organizing your inbox, finding information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In Google Meet, it can listen to an entire Google Meet and grab the transcript and then summarize it and generate action items, as well as creating backgrounds, translating captions in other languages, and more. Now, some of the things I just mentioned aren't live today. Some of them are. This list that you see here are things that are either live right now or are coming very soon. I do not have access to all of these. They have not all gone live yet. So some of them are coming soon. The big kicker is the cost. Yeah. And there's just no way around it. This is what it is. It is $30 per user per month. So that's why in the Q&A doc or section, somebody said $360 per year. If you pay month by month, it's $36, but it's $30 if you do a full year at a time. So yes, this is expensive. Now, a lot of thoughts about that, and I don't have answers necessarily to all of these. One is, will there be an education discount at some point? I don't know. I really don't. I don't, again, no inside scoop on that. I don't know. It would be nice. That would be great if there was some kind of educational discount. Don't know about that. At the moment, no. Right now, today, no. It is the same cost for educators. There is no minimum though on how many you buy. So you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, we've got to buy this for our entire school district. No, you might say, listen, there are a handful of people that this additional functionality is going to make a big difference. So we're going to buy licenses just for them. Another thing is, I think this is early days. So you may say, wow, at that price, these are kind of cool things here, but that may not be enough to convince me. These are just the very first things it's going to do. I'm really curious to see long term how this grows. Will eventually the benefits outweigh the cost? I don't know. Again, that's going to be something everybody has to decide. Will there be enough features that you're like, wow, this really is worth it? So, right now, I think the people who are jumping on this are definitely early adopters. The schools that are using it have told me they've bought 10 licenses, they've bought 5 licenses. They're just testing it out. And many of them are saying the same thing. They're saying, yeah, it's cool, still pretty basic at the moment. We're excited to see what's coming. Not a whole lot to do just yet, as we're waiting for more features to roll out. So there you go. That's the big picture of what Duet AI is all about. As more comes out, I will definitely share more, but I would definitely encourage you check out that interview. It's I think a very insightful on what their philosophy is for AI in the Google Workspace suite. Now, can you still use Bard for free? Absolutely. Of course you can. Can you still use NotebookLM for free? Of course. Absolutely. You can do that. So if it's like, wow, we just cannot, we can't afford it. We can't do Duet AI. If that's the case, there are still so many wonderful ways to leverage Google Bard, NotebookLM, tools like that, to have it generate things and then send it over to Docs or pull copy and paste things over as well. All right. Let's go ahead and pause there for a moment, because I know I just dumped a bunch, and there may be some comments, some questions, some thoughts about Duet AI. Denny, did we anything pop up there that we should address?
I had a little bit of input, I guess. I know you've used Brisk because I've seen some of the posts
Yeah.
that you've shared. So that's something where you can access the AI within like a Google Doc, and then Magic Schools just released a Chrome extension where you can access AI within Google Docs. So maybe those could do some of the things.
That's a really good point, Denny. I appreciate you mentioning that. So yes, there are tools that are starting to integrate more inside of a Google Doc, and Brisk is one of those. I do have Brisk listed a little bit further down in my show and tell portion, so I'll mention that a little bit more when we get down to there, but that's a great example. That's a really good one to show inside of a document using AI. And Brisk does have a paid version, but there is a free version that does work inside of your Google document as well. So good point to mention that as well.
And then on a different note, Julie had a question back a little bit about AI art or music applications, and if we knew of any of them. The only thing I can think of is what I think I shared with Crayon, Dolly, Dream Studio, Scribble Diffusion, maybe, but I don't know if that's.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so I do have quite a bit that I pulled together in my main AI document. That's at bit.ly/Kurtz-AI. I'll pull that up here. I've got several other documents, but this is one of my main ones. And I can copy and paste that link in there for you guys. But in this big document, the ABCs of AI, one of the sections in there I cover are AI tools. And there's like a section on image tools. So these are like tools to generate, images with, or media tools like Google's Music FX that you can generate music with and things like that. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive list. I need to continue to flesh it out. I guarantee you there's 5 other ones that'll make music Music FX is not the only one. And there's, 10 other image generation tools, but these are ones to start with. So yeah, if you're looking for some things that are more art and music related, I'll drop that link in there for you in the chat. It's just bit.ly/Kurtz-AI. That gets you to my big ABCs of AI document. It covers way more than that. It covers, AI tools, but it also covers addressing misuse. It covers educational ideas for using AI in your schools, lots of stuff. It's a constantly growing document of lots and lots, as you can see, lots and lots and lots of resources in there, but it does include some art and music tools in there as well. So thanks for that question. All right. Good stuff. Well, let's keep going. I think the end is in sight. I can see where the updates end. So we're going to make a dash for it and get to the rest of our updates here. So the next thing, early in January, we got a blog post about how practice sets will now have a new way to get content, and it can do that from Google Forms. So for those who are using practice sets, again, it's part of Teaching and Learning Upgrade. It's part of Google Plus, the Plus upgrade. If you're doing that, though, in the past, when you created a practice set, you basically had to, build it from scratch yourself, or you could import from a PDF. You could take like a snapshot of a PDF. Well, now they're saying, well, what if you have a Google form that you really have used a lot and you like, and it's a good one, and you want to convert it into a practice set, and you don't want to have to retype every single question? Well, you can now do that straight from practice sets. So just to show you what that looks like, if I come back here, let me see if I can exit back out of this. We will not do this assignment. We'll discard that draft there. But if I come here to my classroom and I pull up one of my practice sets here, I'll just grab this. Is just a pretend practice set. There's nothing in there. If I go in to edit this practice set, I now have this import button here. And as always, I can still create them manually. I can also well, I think it's still there. I'd have to look and see. Well, we used to have the option, maybe I'm just not looking for it in the right place, but there's the option to take a picture of from a PDF. So I'll have to double check and make sure that's still available to us here. But when I hit import, probably so, it would just be in the same spot. I'm just seeing my forms, but this would probably, yep, there it is, PDFs. Perfect. They've just combined them together. So it's not a separate button. I was worried it was going to be a separate button, but it's not. So if I'm in practice sets and I hit the import button, basically now I can grab forms or I can grab PDFs, either one, forms or PDFs. With PDFs, it lets me take a little snippet of it. With a form, if I grab like this math quiz, I can say import that, and it will pull in that entire quiz into practice sets. Now that it's in practice sets, I can do all the other cool practice sets things to it. I can add, what skills does it address? I can, have the AI pull up some resources to help support the students on learning it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So nice feature there to be able to quickly start generating practice sets from forms that you already have. Let's see what's up next. Keep on heading on down here. So quick one here. Google Chrome is getting a couple of new generative AI features, but this is only for personal accounts. This is not for school accounts. So I just was going to mention this because one of the features in there I think is really nice. The other two I think are cool, but not critical. But one of the three features really excites me, and that is the ability to help you write when you are on the internet. And so let me see if I can open up this image so you can see it a little bit better. I don't have access to this yet. It has not rolled out yet. I would love to demonstrate this for you. It has not rolled out yet, but basically the idea is in Google Chrome for personal users, personal Gmail accounts, you'll be able to, anytime you are filling in a text box, you'll be able to simply right click and choose help me write, and it will pop up a box where you can have the AI help generate content that you can then put into that text box that you're filling out. So again, really nice. That's fantastic. AI generated text. And of course, you can adjust the length and the tone and things like that. But just a part of Chrome, nothing to install, not an extension, not an add-on, just part of Google Chrome, just a part of the browser itself, but only personal accounts at the moment. That is not something that is available yet for education accounts. Tail end of January, a bunch of updates came out. I will not go through all of them. I'll just highlight a couple of my favorites. But each January, the BETT conference occurs over in London. And this is a time when Google dumps a whole bunch of updates. And they did the same thing again this year. There are 2 blog posts if you want to look at from Google. And then I did my typical wrap-up BETT post. I did one last year, did the exact same thing again this year. If it's helpful for you to see it all in one simple place, feel free to click on my post, 16 updates to make Google better. Obviously, a play on words with the BETT conference and making Google better. Again, I will not go through all 16 of these. You can go into any of these that you want to look at a little closer, but I'll just mention a few that caught my eye. So for example, Google Classroom is finally getting classroom groups or student groups, whatever you want to call it, coming later this year. So when I go to assign an assignment, oh yeah, I can go in and just manually click, oh, these 5 students should get this assignment, but I have to do that every single time. I can't save that group. Well, now we're going to be able to. We'll be able to define a group of students so that we can just say this assignment is for this group, and boom, it selects those students automatically. So that's going to be nice. That'll be a good time saver there. Other things that would probably be worth mentioning here. Again, there's a lot of cool things. I don't mean to be skipping over these and saying they're not important. They are. They're all cool, but I'm trying to see which ones I might want to give a quick shout out about. And I know it looks like I'm skipping over almost everything here. These are all really good updates, but let's see what's another one that caught my eye. Here's one that I got excited about. Reading mode. Now, reading mode is not new. We've had reading mode for quite a while. If you forgot what reading mode was, that's where, like, if I'm going to a website like Dogo News, I'm a kid, I'm reading an article, and I come here and say, oh, I want to read about the world's largest cruise ship or whatever. All I have to do is come up to my little side panel over here on the side, which is that little button that opens and closes the side panel. And then I choose reading mode. And basically what it does is it gives me a cleaned up version of the article over here on the side. And I can change the font. I can change the font size. I can change the spacing between the lines, the spacing between the letters. I can change the color scheme, whatever works best for me. Well, the update, the thing that is getting added is text-to-speech in reading mode. So when you pull up the reading mode panel, there's going to be a little speaker icon there, and it will read it to you as well. So I'm always looking for accessibility and accommodation tools. Excited to see that. And then what else? I think there was at least one more thing I wanted to give a shout out to here, and it was, yes, screencast. So the third thing that I'm going to give of the 16 updates, the third one I'm going to mention is some nice updates to screencast. So screencast is the tool that's built into Chromebooks that lets you record your screen, record your voice, record your camera. It lets you annotate. You can use it. Students can use it. It's a fantastic way to create videos that's unlimited. You can make as many as long as you want and then share that with anybody to watch. Okay, awesome, awesome, great tool on a Chromebook. Well, they're starting to improve the editing options for it. So in the past, when you would record a screencast, you would get a transcript over on the right-hand side. And if there was a sentence or a paragraph where you made a mistake, you could tell it to skip that portion. And so when it went to play back the video later, it would just skip right over that section where you made a mistake. The problem was you couldn't get very granular with it. It decided what those chunks of text were, and you had to skip an entire chunk of text, which many times was like multiple sentences. Well, what if you just made a mistake on one little bit, just like, a word or two? Well, one of the big updates is the ability to go in and select specifically what you want to skip. So you can go in, instead of it being a big chunk, you can just grab the words, just the little blurb that you need to skip. That's nice. Also, the ability to mute the audio in certain portions, and the ability to add chapters and titles to the transcript and the video for better organization. So I'm excited to see that. That's really nice. So those were 3 of the 16 that I wanted to give a quick shout out to. Definitely feel free to explore all of those in that. All right, let's hit the last 2, and then we'll take questions and comments. So the last 2, how about Art Selfie? An update to Art Selfie. This is part of Arts and Culture. The old Art Selfie tool is still there, but they have now added a version 2, Art Selfie 2. This is on the mobile app, and the idea is what you can do with the Google Arts and Culture mobile app is you can now take a picture of yourself, and then you can have AI take your image and put it into a artistic style. And there's lots of styles to choose from there. And then, of course, you can learn about that particular art style or the painting that it is mimicking. Let's try this out. We're gonna give this a try here. Let me turn my phone on here, and I'll put my phone up on the screen. Give me just a second to wake that up. There we go. So there's my phone. Oh, I know you don't see it yet. I'm dragging it over. There it is. So there's my phone. So on my phone, this is the Arts and Culture app. And you can see Art Selfies at the top. So I'm going to click on Art Selfie there. Hey, there I am. Hey, everybody. And I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of myself with the Art Selfie tool here. So here we go. All right, so it took a picture of me. Now I can go down and I can remix it. I can put myself into these different things. So I don't know if anybody has a particular request of what you want to go with here. I'll pick one, and if there's something that looks interesting to you, we can definitely choose another one here. But my gosh, yeah, what's going to be a good one? We've got, how about a medieval knight? Okay, I just watched the movie the Green Knight the other day. If you haven't seen it, it's about a year and a half old or so now. It was really good. So I've got knights on the mind. So let's see what it does with my, oh my gosh, there I am. Okay, so there I am. If I was a medieval knight, that's it's a little scary there. But if we go down again, there's lots of other options here. I can climb Everest. I can be an astronaut in space. I can be surfing. I can be at Woodstock. You get the idea. Oh, maybe I want to be the girl with the pearl earring. That would be very nice as well. I don't know. Little nervous about what's getting generated here, but we'll see. Oh my gosh. Hey, not too bad. If I ever decide to go for that look, now I know. Excellent. Jim is suggesting the knight or the gaucho. Here, we'll pull up the gaucho. Okay, we'll do that. Thanks, Jim, for the suggestion. Jim's got my back there. I'm sure he's picking only the best, the very best options here as well. Okay. Not too bad. Excellent. Anyway, though, so just a quick heads up, that is Art Selfie 2, which is part of the mobile app of Google Arts and Culture. And Arts and Culture is such a phenomenal resource that goes way beyond that. There's also the Arts and Culture website that has so much content as well. And then the last thing, the final thing, unless you guys have questions, and then we'll move into show and tell and Q&A. The last thing is an update to Google Calendar appointment scheduling. Now, here's the thing. I tell you, I think this is the funniest thing. You may not agree, but here's the thing. This has happened to me twice. And if you are an avid watcher of these, you may remember a couple months ago, I mentioned I was doing a training on appointment schedules. And I was at a school training about appointment schedules. And the teachers were saying, we want to use it for parent-teacher conferencing. And they're like, oh, this is so awesome. And they said, oh, no. They said, we need the slots to be shorter. They were doing a very unique thing where they were actually doing 10-minute parent-teacher conferences, like really short ones. And Google Calendar's appointment schedules only allowed you to go down to 15 minutes per slot. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I felt terrible. The very next day, Google posts in their updates, we are now changing appointment slots, appointment scheduling to go down to 5 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, did they hear us complaining? So I sent them an email and said, hey, I told those teachers, heads up, Google must have heard us because they changed it. Well, guys, it happened again. Yesterday, I was doing a training. I was doing a meeting with some of my colleagues, and we were talking about Google Calendar appointment scheduling. And here was the request. They said, we want to set up an appointment schedule where when somebody schedules it, it schedules it with multiple people, not just one person. We want them to be able to go pick the one schedule, but they want all 4 of the team members to have it scheduled with them. So we were trying to come up with creative ways, like, okay, how can we do this? And we did. We figured out some creative ways to work it. At 1:00 in the afternoon, 1 hour after the meeting, this posted. Google is now adding co-hosts to appointment schedules. So I'm starting to think Google is listening. I think they're listening to my meetings when I'm having them, because an hour later it says, guess what you could do now? You can add co-hosts. So when you create an appointment schedule, you can say, when somebody schedules, also schedule it with these people too. That's exactly what we needed. And that's fantastic. I was so happy to see that. There's other updates here too, like the ability to put appointment schedules on a secondary calendar, which I think is really nice instead of just putting them on your primary calendar as well. So if you have any Google requests, just send them to me and I'll be sure to mention them in one of my upcoming meetings so that when Google is eavesdropping on me, then they can grab those ideas and they can get them changed right away. So anyway, just the craziest thing, craziest thing. But I thought it was a pretty interesting thing. All right. Anyway, so that gets us through. Holy cow, that's a lot of stuff, but that gets us through all of the updates from November, the last time that we met. We are going to transfer over into show and tell and into Q&A. So while we're getting ready for that, if you do have any questions, please drop those down here into the Q&A section. If you have questions or answers, you can drop those down into there. If you have anything to add to the community show and tell, please do that as well. And I'll have Denny go first when we do get into the show and tell so that he can share his content. But before we completely leave behind the updates from the last 2 months, Denny, did you notice anything? Did we miss something? Is there something in the chat, a question, a comment, would you like to add to what we have covered in the updates?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff, but a couple that really kind of stuck out to me. One I thought that was really cool is in Google Classroom, you can actually share resources now.
Yeah,
So
right.
videos, the practice sets, which I think that's something that at least I thought in my mind. So maybe Google is reading my mind now to.
There you go.
Um,
Yes. Yeah, that one. I did skip over it, but you're right. If you do dive into there, there is that option to not only share class templates, but also they've done the what they're calling a resource page. And unless I just scroll, there it is, the resources tab, and the ability to share those like practice sets and other resources you've created. Yeah.
I was also pretty excited about the unsubscribe option being so easily accessible now in your email. So if you hover over any email, it just gives you that option.
So thanks for mentioning that. I did not highlight that one, but if you want to follow that, there's the blog post on that. Yes, Google's making it easier than ever. If you get a message like, I don't think I even signed up for this. Why am I getting these? To have an unsubscribe, very clearly accessible button there to say, I want to unsubscribe from those messages. And that's actually part of a big thing Google's been doing recently. They've rolled out some new requirements for if you are doing mass emails. There are things you must do to not get marked as spam. And part of it includes having a very easy way for people to unsubscribe from your messages. And there's several other things that go into it as well, but that's been a big push lately. All right. Anything else before we move on?
I don't have anything. I don't think I saw any questions.
All right. All right. Well, tell you what, let's go ahead and head into show and tell, and we'll just encourage people. If there's something you did ask and we missed it, just throw it back in the chat and we'll be happy to pick that up. So, as always, we'll give a shout out to the folks who aren't with us. Stephanie is not with us today, but she has a wonderful Google group where she shares resources, and Sarah couldn't be with us today either, but she has a wonderful weekly email newsletter that she sends out. Denny, you and I think we were chatting ahead of time. Great minds think alike. I know I was working on something similar to this, but I'm so excited to see that you have put this together. Tell us about what this is.
Yeah, so with all of the generative AI tools out there, I felt the need to create a list of all the ones that are pertinent to educators. So I started to create a list within Google Sheets with the links and some of the other important information. One thing that I try to include, and I think it's column I, is a lot of them have like educational kind of pieces to them.
Yeah.
I know Magic School has something. I think, what was it? Diffit has something. CurryPod and some of the others as well are adding pieces. And then that last column, I guess, is just, in my humble opinion, I guess, the ones that are progressing, continuing to progress, and some of them are just, they do what they do. And I don't know that maybe they have intentions to progress or not, but some of them I notice is like every day they're adding new things.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas others, they've been the same since, February. So that's just in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic, and I know we were joking before the meeting. Great minds do think alike. About 2 weeks ago, I started a similar type of a spreadsheet. Then I went off to FETC and I went off to some other things, and so I'll get back to it. But same sort of thing. I'm starting to get overwhelmed by just how much content's out there. So I'm pulling together something kind of like this. Of course, they'll all be a little different, but that's great. I'm so glad you did this. We can all benefit from each other. So thank you so much for sharing this. There are some things in here I am not familiar with. I see a lot that I'm like, oh yeah, I know that tool. But I'm so excited because there's some here that I have not used, and I appreciate you getting them on my radar. I'm definitely going to dive into some of the ones that I haven't had a chance to experience yet.
Yeah, sure thing.
And I'm sure this will continue to grow over time as you add more to it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate that. Awesome. And then let's see, I'll go up to my show and tell, then we'll come back to the community so people still have some more time if somebody wants to add something into that. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through everything here in the show and tell. Just going to pick out a couple of quick highlights to mention. I will mention that I am doing my EdTech links of the week, of course. Most weeks, there are some weeks that, I'm gone and I just can't make it happen. But I would encourage you to check these out. And each week, basically what I do is I highlight, 2 or 3 or so cool resources from around the internet, and then a couple of resources from my blog. And so, recently I talked about Symbol and Bionify and Music FX, and then I shared a few things from my blog as well. So you can just read it as a blog post, or I do a short video where I do 5 minutes per tool and just talk real quick about what those resources are. So whatever way you prefer to consume that, you can do that by video or blog, however works best for you. As far as the blog goes, Obviously, several of these we've already mentioned, so we don't need to go through all of these, but let me pick out just a couple of blog posts since November that I want to give a shout out to. For sure, I want to give a quick shout out to my Cool Tools 2023 series, which is all wrapped up now. If you didn't get a chance to catch all of that, please do. If you head out to that link, what I was doing is I was highlighting my favorite AI tools of the year with 24 of my favorite cool tools from last year. And basically, if you come here to the page now, you can see the completed list. So they're all done now, from things that you might be comfortable with, like Magic School or Question Well or Diffit or things you might know really well, to some of the maybe lesser known tools in there you might not have known about. Enlighten AI. Maybe you don't know about Sorcerer or Mizu or some of these other ones. And I was so excited to learn about them throughout the month. I had a pretty good list going into the start of the month, but as it went on, I came across several others that people were so kind to say, "Hey, Eric, you might want to consider adding this one to the list." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I will." Now, every one of these has a blog post, and they all have a demo video with them. So you can come in here and say, "Oh, I want to learn about, whatever the case might be. Maybe I want to learn about school AI." Well, if I hit the blog post, you can read all about it, all the details and how it works. But then I've also got that demo video. Typically, I don't know, that one's a little bit longer. That one's 12 minutes. They're usually not that long. They're usually 5, 6 minutes long. If it's a more complicated tool, the demo may go a little bit longer there. But please feel free to dive in and explore those now that the full list is complete there. Let's see. Other ones to mention. We already talked about the BETT updates. We talked about Duet. Now, this was a fun one. Google released a series of YouTube shorts all about AI. And I got to be in 2 of them. So I was excited about that. So if you follow this link, that'll take you to a post I did. I got to do one of the shorts was about using AI for role playing, to have the AI pretend to be a historical figure or a character from a book or an animal, and having your students interview the AI. And then the other one was about using AI to help you with coding, even if you're not a coder, how it can help you creating code for activities and games and things like that. There's a link here to the full series. A lot of awesome people in there. Katie Ritter, who's another Ohioan. She's got several videos. Donnie Piercy, real good friend, love Donnie. He's an awesome guy. He's got several videos in there as well. So there's a whole series of these that you can check out with neat ideas on how to use AI for teaching and learning and saving time. So do check those out if you haven't yet. Let's see what else. Oh, I did do a blog post on emojis. Nothing earth shattering there, but a fun post about 10 ways to add emojis when you're using Google Tools. And so just lots of different ideas, from the built-in menus to using, using voice typing to add emojis, using shortcuts, using, what else do I have here? Add-ons, emoji add-ons, emoji extensions, just lots and lots of ways to find an easy way to add emojis into your Google Tools. We already mentioned SequoiaCon, and I guess the last thing I would mention there would be I did put a blog post to my ISTE sessions. I will be attending ISTE in Denver this June, and there's a link here if you want to check out what I'll be sharing at ISTE. As far as the things that were not part of my blog, I did mention I wanted to give a quick shout out to Brisk for their inspect writing feature. So this will be the last I'll share of my show and tell things, but let me pull this up here for a moment and do a quick chat about it. So Brisk is it's a Chrome extension that gives you AI features when you are browsing the web and you're reading an article or you're inside of a Google Doc. Well, I've shared about it before to do things like it can re-level an article. Like if you are reading, one of those Dogo News articles and you want it written at a lower grade level, you can tell Brisk, hey, let's rewrite this at a 3rd grade level or whatever, and it will rewrite that for you. But one thing they've added recently that really caught my attention is inspect writing. So this is their little demo here you can go through, but I'll actually bring up one of my own so that we don't have to just watch their demo here. But you can go through their demo if you want to try it out and see, what it looks like there. Let me actually pull up one here. So let me grab. Sorry, I should have had this queued up ahead of time and I apologize, but I will get it pulled up here really fast. It's on another screen, so I'm grabbing it as quick as I can here, and I'm going to drag it over here so I can show you what this looks like here. Here we go. All right, so I've got a Google document here that I'm going to use as an example, and I've got Brisk turned off at the moment, so I'm going to turn it back on. So there's Brisk, and let me just refresh this so it knows it's there. Awesome. Okay. Give that a moment. There we go. So now this is a pretend George Washington report, just one that I typed up. Let's say that I'm wanting to see, did a student actually write this, or did they copy and paste it from somewhere else? Maybe they had AI help them generate this and they copied and pasted it in. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that. We could spend a while going into those. I'm just going to show you real quick what Brisk does. So heads up, in this document, I did type the first paragraph, but then I pasted the second, I typed the third, I pasted the fourth, I typed the fifth, and I pasted the sixth. So I did paste every other one. So that's what we're hoping to catch. If I come down here to Brisk in the bottom corner, I can do all kinds of cool things, giving feedback, changing the level, blah, 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 blah. But let's click Inspect Writing. Now, what it's going to do is give me this replay button. When I click this, what it's going to do in here, I'll scroll back. Sorry, I was already up there. There we go. So what it's going to do is it's going to basically play a video of the document being written. And so as you see at the bottom, the scroll bar is moving and it's showing the document actually being typed. Like this is how I wrote the document. Notice though the icons. There are 3 icons here where it shows a little like a page, a document. Those are the paste spots. So watch what happens when we get close. We're getting close to this first paste spot. So I'm finishing the first paragraph here. And then suddenly we should get a big paste, and there it is. Boom. That's the paste. That was me pasting in information. And now here it goes. It's typing again. Now I can speed this up. You don't have to go that slow. You can change the speed. So you can put it at whatever speed you want. I'll bump it up to like 30x. And so now I'm watching as I'm typing, but here I come. Here's that paste coming up again. So typing, 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 and then it pauses and boom, there it is. There is that whole big paste just occurred, and on and on and on. And so what's happening here is it's letting us be able to watch the creation of a document and see exactly how the student typed, or did they not type? Did they paste from another source? At that point, if you're noticing these big pastes, that doesn't mean, oh, the student absolutely cheated, but it does mean you need to talk to them. Now why are you pasting? Where's this coming from? Hopefully you've got guidelines that say they're not supposed to copy and paste from somewhere else, that they need to type it up themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really love how Brisk does that. And that's free. That is part of their free version. Brisk has a free version and Brisk has a paid version. What I just showed you, the Inspect Writing, that is part of the free version of the tool. I would say every teacher should be taking advantage of this. It's not meant to be a gotcha kind of thing. It's meant to be an important part of evaluating our students' writing. The students should know that we have these tools saying, listen, guys, don't copy paste. You need to write this stuff up yourself, because we do have these tools and they're an important part of that. Now, on a positive side, this can also show you when a student fixes things. Like if you leave a comment and say, hey, you need to go back and rewrite this, this is a really nice way to watch them as they implement your suggestions for improvement. So there's a lot of positives that can come from this there as well. All right, let's pause there. I did see a bit of flurry going on in the chat. So before we move on, Denny, did you want to catch us up on what all is going on in the chat area right now?
Yeah, Beth had asked the question if there are AI tools out there for schools that are COPA compliant. I mentioned Canva for Education. It sounds like they're already using that. And then let's see, school AI. They're looking for something more like school AI. So I mentioned
Yeah.
Mizzou.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's how.
I say Mizu. I don't know.
Mizzou.
I
Okay.
believe they're French. It's a French-based company, I
Yeah.
think. So
Are
Mizu.
there other tools that you can think of off the
Um,
top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but that's a
Mm,
great question, and I think it's
yeah.
something we always need to look at is, yeah, which ones are going to be compliant
Right.
with your requirements. So thanks for having that discussion there, and good shout out to School AI and Mizu. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely love those tools.
Yeah, and I think let's see what else.
Oh, I see Kristen said she's been using Brisk for the feedback
Yeah.
portion of it there. So that's good to know. She's mentioning how she uses it to provide feedback on student writing and has been really happy with what it is generating there. So good to see that. Oh, Beth, good question here. So Beth says, aside from the interface, would a teacher get the same result by looking at the document editing history? So good question, Beth. The short answer is no, they would not get the same information. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, what do you mean they wouldn't get the same information? Well, here's the thing. Um, if you are familiar with version history, which I hope you are, this is something we've had forever. If you go to the file menu and you go down to version history and you go down to see version history, this is where you can expand out the version history and you can go back and say, minute by minute, I want to see, what was typed into the document. And you can go back through the version history to see that. But you're probably going to notice something really quick here as I'm doing it. Okay. Version history is great, but look how big the chunks are. So like it shows this whole chunk showing up here within 2 minutes. But I wrote that. I typed that whole chunk myself. And then here it shows the next paragraph as a chunk, but that's the one I pasted. Just looking at version history, it's too blunt. It's not granular enough. And here's the crazy thing. Google is tracking it down to the character level. Every single second, every moment, every letter you type, it timestamps every single letter. It just doesn't show it. Version history does not get granular enough, but it's all there because things like Brisk, they can't do anything that version history isn't providing them. It's actually in the version history. They're just surfacing it better. So Google could fix that. They could put more little, arrows to say, well, let's break this down further. And it could. They could break this down letter by letter, but they choose not to. They have version history being much more summarized. It's okay to get a quick look, but honestly, you pretty much have to use something like revision history, that extension, or you have to use Brisk, or you have to use something like that to drill down. Draft back, same thing. Draft back, draft back, revision history, or Brisk. Now, I have all three of those mentioned in that document we talked about earlier. Remember when I pulled up my Bitly document? Oh, sorry about that. My Bitly document on AI. If you go to the bottom of that document where you get to the section on addressing AI misuse, so all the way down on like page 8 and below, I have a section in there where I talk about monitoring usage. So page 12. So here's the link to draft back. Here's the link to revision history. And here's the link to Brisk. So all three of those build on top of version history. So it's not like, again, they can't do anything that version history isn't already doing. It's just they can show it. They've chosen to show it in a much more granular format. So love version history, just wish it would show all the data it's collecting. That's why these tools, you really need to drill in deeper like that. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Whew. All right, that's been a lot. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. We do have some community show and tell. Whoever shared this, thanks so much. Looks like we have a make your own AI class rules poster. Oh, Dan shared this. Thanks, Dan. This was from Dan Neeson. Dan is from NeoNet. They're the folks who do the the Neotech conference that is coming up here in March. Dan is fantastic. Thank you, Dan. So we have a template here where we can make a copy of this and fill in our own information. So we've got some stuff on the first page there, but then a spot here where we can put in rules for AI. And then it looks like we've got some suggestions over here to pull from. So if you're wanting to generate your own rules for AI in this classroom poster, how very nice. That's great, Dan. I really appreciate you sharing that. Thanks so much. All right. Well, that brings us to our final section, which is Q&A. So questions and answers. If you still have a question, please feel free to throw it in here. And if you have an answer, we'd love to have you include that too, because we may not have the answers to everything, and it's helpful. So let's see what we have here in our Q&A section. The first question we already addressed about, can you explain more about Duet AI? Hopefully my section where I dived into that helped. I do see some people have added some things about paying $20 a month for ChatGPT, and thought I would only do it once to see, but I use it so much that I have no problem paying. What about $30 a month? Depends on how good it is. That's a good point there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think twice about the $20 a month for ChatGPT either, because I do use it so much. But at some point, yeah, it's got to be tough. It's like streaming services. It's like saying, oh, Netflix is only this much. Oh, but I really want to have, Max. I really want to have Hulu. I really want to have Amazon Prime because there's such, a good show on there I want to see. For a long time, I had a number of services, and I find myself now just kind of cycling through. Like I'll cancel Netflix for several months and do, Paramount or whatever. And then I'll be like, okay, I think I've binged all the shows there. Let's cancel that and pick up Max. And now let's cancel that and come back to, Netflix, because it's becoming a bit to juggle those. Well, I can see the same thing happening in the AI world. All of these amazing tools, whether it's Magic School AI or whether it's, ChatGPT or Diffit or any of those, if it's $5 here, $10 there, $20 there, eventually it's not reasonable. You've got to find a balance. You've got to decide. So my gut feeling is probably the tools that are going to survive, because come on, guys, a year from now, how many of these companies may not even be around? It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. I hate to think that, but it's very possible some of these AI startups, they might not be with us a year from now if they aren't able to, really get a base of people willing to pay. What's probably going to happen is there's going to be a couple of tools that can do everything. They become the Swiss Army knife tools. Like, okay, if you pay this per month for it, yeah, you can it's a one-stop shop. You can kind of do everything you need here. That's probably going to be the saving grace for some of these companies, where you say, and maybe that's Duet AI. Maybe a year from now, you're like, $30 a month. Yeah, but my goodness, it does everything. I don't need any of these other subscriptions. I can do every possible thing I want right inside of this. Or if not, then yeah, you would not be able to justify it. You'd be like, nope, there's no way I can add that on, because I'm finding that, XYZ tool is doing everything that I need. Or I put together two of these tools and with this one and this one, I'm covering all of my needs. End of the road, and the end result though is you're probably gonna be paying for something. I mean, yes, you can use free versions of stuff, but chances are, much like any tool, there will be a cost. AI is not free. AI is expensive. It's a lot of computers, a lot of servers doing a lot of work. And so we'll probably end up paying for something. So those are just some of my thoughts. I don't know, Denny, if you have anything to add to that, but that's a little bit of a soapbox there about the current prices, with AI. But anyway, those are some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think the same thing.
Yeah.
Well spoken.
All right. Well, and again, it's early days, folks. It's early days. There's a ton of tools that are free that just aren't going to stay free, or they're going to have a paid version. You're going to have to eventually decide, if you want the good stuff, which ones are you going to pay for? All right. I think we did address this a little bit, AI art and music applications. I'll come back later and I'll paste in those links that I have. But yes, in that AI document that I've got there, actually, I could probably grab a couple of them right now because it's still open right now. So, for example, we could grab things like some image tools here. We could grab those and we could drop that in there. That would be something to explore. And then I've got some media tools here as well. And again, this is not a comprehensive list, but those are some that deal with media and with images. There's also some ones that are what I call classic AI tools. So if you want to explore some of these are not the new shiny generative AI tools. But here, for example, would be some of the older music tools that you could explore as well. And I don't know if I have any more that would be a really good one to grab. Probably some others. Yeah, things like Scribbly and Chimera Painter, Auto Draw, Quick Draw. Some of those would also be some good classic AI tools to investigate that are art and music related. So that would give you a place to start exploring. And again, I know that's not even a full list. It's not. There's a lot more that you could explore beyond those. All right. Next up, is it possible for someone else to schedule excuse me, is it possible to make appointment schedules for someone else? I'm imagining a principal or secretary setting up appointment schedules for teachers. Yes, that actually was part of that update that I didn't go into full details on. If you go back to that particular update there and you scroll down a little further, there is a section here about delegating access, expanding the delegate access functionality to appointment scheduling. Currently, it lets you let somebody else, such as an assistant, access your workspace to send these on your behalf. Now the person with delegate access can edit and delete your appointment schedules on your calendar as well. So yes, the ability to delegate access to your appointment schedules has been partially available and is being expanded out further. So I would just say do reference that blog post, that update that we referenced there. Do take a look at that, and that will give you more details on that. Does Brisk Inspect Writing work on slides? Not that I know of. Yeah, only in docs. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe someday it will. All right. Good stuff. Whoo, doggies. That was a lot. All right. Well, folks, we are getting close to the end of our time here. So we're going to start pulling things together. Having said that, now's the time. If you've got a question, if you've got a comment, and you haven't asked it yet or shared it, drop it in the chat. We would love to hear from you. So please do drop in the chat any questions, comments, thoughts, things that you still want to share. While you're doing that, let me do a couple of quick reminders as we start to wrap up here. One of the first is, if you didn't get a chance to sign in, please do that. Remember, like page 2, I guess, page 2 of the document, highlighted in green is our Google form sign-in link. Give a click on that. That will let you fill out the form to say that you watched live or recorded. If you're watching us recorded, you still get credit. So that's fine. So you can fill that out, and then sometime in the near future, I'll generate those certificates of attendance for you. I would also remind you to consider joining our Google group so that you can stay in touch with us in between our meetings. And speaking of next meetings, our next one is February 28th. I don't have the links up yet. I will add those in as I usually do. I just didn't have them generated yet, but I will get the links for the video and the document and all of that added in shortly. But that'll be February 28th. Although I hope we get to see a bunch of you guys at OETC. So if you're going to be at OETC coming up February 13th through 15th, I know several of us will be. Please, let's hang out. Let's get a chance to say hi. It'll be fantastic to get to see you guys there. So as we wrap up, Denny, anything else that you saw in the chat or questions, comments, something that we need to address before we finish this one off?
I think that's it. I think we got all the questions and comments. So I think that about wraps it up.
How about this? Somebody just put, Briss says it's coming soon to slides. Ah,
Oh,
that's
nice.
great. Talk
It
about
heard.
getting an answer right away. That's fantastic. So thank you so much, whoever put that in there. Well, that is wonderful. So, again, as we start to wrap up, Denny and I will pop back on the screen so we can officially say hi to everybody. Thanks so much, really. Thank you so much for taking 2 hours out of your day, whether you're watching live or recorded. It means a lot. I hope the information you gained today can help you support your teachers, help you support your students. We appreciate your time and also everything you shared. We learned so much from you. So until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful month, and we'll chat with you guys again soon. Take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks all.